Hey everyone, welcome back to another CGH video. I am your host FmMedia, and in today's video we're going to take an in-depth look at all the customization parts of the brand new Truffade Thrax as part of the Diamond Casino and Resort DLC. With that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Coming in at $2,325,000, the Truffade Thrax is mainly based on the Bugatti Divo with a little sprinkle of the La Voiture Noire in it, and it isn't one of the cheapest cars in this DLC, but I do have to say its customization is really good. And with that out of the way, let's check it out together. So here we are in the Los Santos Customs with the brand new Truffade Thrax, and I do have to say this car is absolutely beautiful. Of course, it's mainly based on the Bugatti Divo with a little bit of the La Voiture Noire in it, but I do have to say Rockstar have nailed it with designing this car, although there are some cues of it that I am kind of disappointed with, but we'll get those later on in the video. So of course the first things we're going to encounter are the armor and brakes, but of course this is a customization video, so we're gonna go straight for the bumpers. So in total we have 5 types of bumpers over here, and we'll start with the first stock one. The stock one basically has the fins on the side, and that's pretty much it. But then of course the first option you're introduced is a plastic splitter, which adds this giant splitter in the front made out of plastic. To be honest, who would put plastic on their $2.3 million supercar? After that, it's the primary splitter, which is basically the same splitter but in a primary version. Then you have the secondary version, and of course you have the carbon version. Personally, these are way too big for the car itself, so I would keep it off if I were you guys. And of course with the diffusers in the back, you have a bit of options over here. You have the stock one, which is pretty much a plain carbon fiber diffuser. Then you have the primary, which gives it a pinstriping. In this case, in your primary, in this case it's white. Then the secondary in blue, and of course then it gives you the secondary fins, a little bit of blue. Now we move on to the exhausts. First things first that this car with is its stock exhaust cut with gold surroundings around it, so that's pretty dope. Then there's the primary version of that, then you have the secondary, and then you have the carbon. So most of them are pretty much one version but with different options for it, which is a nice touch that Rockstar do sometimes, especially with cars like this. And then we move on with the chrome exhaust. The chrome exhausts are circle exhausts, as you can see here, but infused with the first option. And then you move to the most drastic change you'd have in this car, which is the dual quad exhaust. And then you have the gold big bore exhaust. So this is more Devo-esque, as I'll put an image on the screen right now. The Devo has some quad exhausts similar to this, and even the Bugatti Chiron Sport. And then of course you have the carbon version of that. You have the flame touch exhaust, which is pretty much burnt tips at the end of the exhaust. You have the angled ones, which are pretty much the chrome ones that we've saw before at an angle. And then you have the upward angle, which is Bosuzoku style. So if you guys want to keep this build clean, I'd highly recommend either go with something like the big bore, or you can even go with one of the options from the first few. Now the grille, of course, here I kept it stock, but of course we have a lot of options to go with this grille. And first things first, we'll go with the crossed grille. This brings the grille to the front and the logo to the front, and then you have the chrome version of it. Now this is where it will complement the chrome trim around the grille. And then you have the primary and the secondary version of that. And then for some odd reason, Rockstar again gave you the option to have a plastic grille on your $2.3 million supercar. So who would do that? You have the primary version of that, the secondary version, and of course you have the chrome. If you want to keep this more classy and more close to its real life counterpart, I'd suggest you keep it to the stock form. Now hoods, we have 16 options in total, and some of them are actually pretty dope. Let's start of course with the stock hood. The stock hood, you don't have anything that's pretty much standing out. It's plain with the primary. Then you add the Truffade logo at the end of it, and this kind of doesn't make sense since you already have a logo in the front, so you're gonna end up with 2 logos in the front. And this is where you get the variants. You have the secondary vents, which adds in this case, the blue to the hood, which is a really nice touch. That's where you pretty much can add more color to the car if you want. Then you have the secondary hood, which is the complete opposite, so it reverses the colors. And then you have the carbon version. So the Devo has the carbon vents, so if you want to go with the Devo style-esque look, I suggest you go with the carbon vents. So then you have the secondary stripe that goes down the car with the white stripe. This is kind of a bit off since you already have a white stripe, so somehow the stripe turned into blue. So I'd highly recommend you stay away from that. Then you have the primary one, which this probably makes more sense, which pretty much colors the entire hood blue and then puts a white stripe on it. So if you want to go with that look, you can go as well. You have the carbon version of that hood with the primary stripe, and then you have the classic with secondary vents. Now this removes the bridge that you see over here and it makes it look way more open. And then you have the ribbed version secondary vent. This is more aftermarket-esque. And then you have the classic vents. This adds pretty much the vent in the front and removes the ribbed vents at the back. So then you have the more aftermarket ones, which are the carbon fiber sport hood, which adds more vents, and then the vents with the primary, and then the full primary, and then the secondary. Moving on to liveries, we have a really good selection of liveries over here, and let's start with the black stripes with black vents. Now this pretty much colors some parts of the car, as you can see looking at the back. So here it covers the bar that goes across the tail lights, and of course adds a giant stripe that goes down the car. It also colors the inside of the engine bay, which makes it black since it's already on the primary color. The mirrors also get changed, and the front splitter in the front becomes completely black. So if you guys want to go for a really cool look, I'd highly recommend you go with this one. You have the yellow accents, which add the yellow pinstriping on the hood of the car, and of course on the intake accents over there, and adds the yellow pinstriping on the side of the door and at the back of the car. The black stripe is pretty much the same stripe we saw before, but with a bit of difference. It adds this white stripe that goes down the car on the side, and then it adds the same black stripe we saw before, but it adds a little bit of white accents to it. Then you start getting into the more race car-esque liveries. We start with the Croix watches livery. It's pretty simple. You got the Croix logos and a little bit of yellow in it. So what I do recommend is getting the hex code of this livery and changing the secondary, which is the blue one over here, to match that color. Then you got the Pisswasser, which adds these stripes and this amazing simple livery, which has the Pisswasser logo on the front with the number 1 and the German color flags on the side of the car. But you do have to keep in mind you have the German flag and then you have a French flag on the same car. You have the sponsors down below, a door seal of the car. Pretty much that's it. There's nothing too much difference here, and adds a little Pisswasser logo in the engine bay. Globe oil, of course, this is where we're starting to get more into the busy liveries. Globe oil is more race car-esque. You have more this time logos and sponsorships. You got the Fukaru, Globe oil in the front, you have Premier, and then you have the numbers on the side of the car with the giant Globe oil logo at the top of the car. Legendary Motorsports is apparently now a new sponsor for, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is pretty much it, and adds also the black bar as before on the top of the tail lights. This is also one of my favorites. So this livery is quite interesting. It covers a lot of the blue that the car already has. So if we can switch between, you can see that the inside of the grille and intakes of the car are remaining blue, while the rest has become this white-esque color. And then the white continues on and covers the back panels of the car. So pretty much the blue now is dominant on the roof and the taillights and the pinstriping if you have it at the back. Then you have the Rimmers livery. This is more clean-esque race car. You have these black stripes that go on the side of the car, and then of course you have the Rimmers logo on the hood. It blacks out the entire front splitter in the front. And then the same thing, it has this really cool livery on the blue. Personally, with this kind of color, it really does look good, so I might actually go with that later on. And then, leaving the best to last, we have the Sprunk livery. This is probably another one of my favorites. The Sprunk livery has always been the best ones on every car that's been introduced. First things first, you can see there's this really nice apple neon green at the back of the vents over there. And on the roof, you have all the Sprunk decal sponsorship, and also on the side. This is more of a cleaner one. It's more rally-esque. So if you guys want to have like a Gumball 3000 inspired car, this might be an excellent choice for you. So when it comes to changing colors, it's pretty much like the Truffade Nero. The primary takes over the front of the car and a bit of the roof, and in this case it's taking over the back intake of the car and the engine bay, and then the secondary color takes over the backside and the roof of the car. Now these can lead into great looking specs for this car. Unfortunately, the only downside that this car has is that you're stuck with a black interior. You have a black with white accent interior, and this is the same interior that was introduced with the Truffade Nero. So I'm kind of disappointed that they never gave that option. Roll cages on this car, you have 3 versions. You have the primary, you have the secondary, and you have the metal cage. So the vents are located behind the driver of the car. You have in total 6 versions. You have the stock one, you have the primary one if you want to go back and add a bit more color to the car. Then you have the blue version of that, and then you have the carbon vented version of the back panel. Sadly, there's no primary or secondary option of the vented side panels, so that's kind of disappointing from Rockstar's end. And then we come to spoilers. Now this is where the Truffade Thrax fails to do, as we're used to the Truffade Nero with its active spoiler, and since this is based off it, we expected an active spoiler of some sort. We start with the sports one. This is pretty much reused spoilers that we can see from in Benny's. We have the aggressive spoiler. This is pretty much the tuner spoiler, just renamed. You have the carbon spoiler. If you want to go for like a Devo-esque, this is the closest version you're gonna get. Then you have the race spoiler, which is a bigger wing in the carbon version, and it has the logos on the side. And then you have the Truffade spoiler. This is the spoiler that was introduced with the Tyrus. It's more of a race car GT LM inspired wing. Then you have the big wing, which has always been there since day one. Then you have the competition spoiler, which pretty much is another version of a chassis mounted wing. Then you have the GT, which was introduced with the Vision. It pretty much adds these giant bars on the back of the car. And then you have the same spoiler you get on the Nero, but in carbon version only. So I'm a bit disappointed in that. Now this is where everyone got confused with the trim. Trim, of course, first thing that we thought is it's going to affect the inside of the car. It actually affects the outside. So the trim affects the chrome around the door seal. So you have the chrome stock trim. Then you have the primary trim, which goes to white. In this case, the secondary trim is the blue, and then of course you can go for a full carbon trim. So with this car, the Truffade Thrax has this amazing wheel design, and of course, as you can see, mine are in black. These wheels do have the iFruit app glitch, where you can pretty much change the color of the cars. All you need to do is change the color of the rim, of course, after you've chosen your rim, then hop back out of LSC and order it through the iFruit app. So that concludes our video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you like this video, leave a like and also subscribe to our channel. What do you think of the Truffade Thrax? Is it overly priced? Is it a really nice car? Have you bought it? And if you did, send me a screenshot on our official CGH Discord server. With that out of the way, guys, thank you very much for watching, and for everything gaming, you know where to find it, right here at CGH.